recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles. This is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. In the days after the fall of Golganuza, the Crimson Cowl Comic Club wailed and wandered. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 297 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we do have a club discussion as we are getting to the finale of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World with issue number 13 of 15. So we're going to cover issue number 13 in this episode. Then we're going to jump to the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and we talk about those books that we've been reading. They could be new, they could be old. But you know what? We're going to talk about them there. Then that is going to be our show. So buckle in, everybody, because it's time to jump right into the club discussion. All right, time to talk about Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 13. The Ravagers, a group that Mezzy once involved with, who are held... Hold on here. The Ravagers, a group that Mezzy was once involved with, who are hell-bent on destroying the world, are primed to do just that, having been interested in Maceo's machines. With Maceo determined to stop them from doing the unthinkable, will Mezzy be able to find him in time to save not just the one she once loved, but what's left of the world? This issue is done by Jason Aaron, Nick Dragotta, Rigo Renzi, Alexandra Tefenki, Lee Loridge, Leila Del Duca, Tamara Bonvillain, and Ann World Design. That might have been the best version of me saying all of those names without stumbling over. It's the 13th time we've done that, and I think that was the best. By the time we get to issue 15, it's going to be flawless. All right, everybody. So this is going to be
a great crowd. I'm out of here, huh?
So issue number 13, we see some stuff with Maceo going through some dark times after the fall of Golganuza, several attempts of ending his life. We go back and forth between future existence where old Mason Mezzy, and we see them battling. This issue is just kind of, once again, just kind of further progressing everything, but also just back and forth and just getting every little piece that we need, learning about the mist and the fall and all that kind of fun stuff. So that is just a very quick overview, so we can just jump right into it. Let's kick it off with Jim first. What are your thoughts on issue number 13?
I thought this one was a nice kind of pick back or look back to the early days. We see Mace doing his inventing and kind of like in the early stages where he make anything out of the trash, and unfortunately he's trying to make something that can kill him. But he keeps failing, so we have that going for us. I guess if he succeeded, the story would be over. So yeah, that's going for us. But yeah, that was great. And we also kind of see like a little bit of both of them looking back to the early days of their relationship, kind of looking at what was good there, and kind of looking at seeing where they went wrong, and are they stuck here or can they go back? I got that out of this issue. I thought there were a couple of great lines of dialogue in here. Again, good writing. It's not necessarily the best story ever written, but it is good dialogue. So.
Okay.
After everybody goes through, I'll share a couple of the ones I thought of. So
good. Let's jump over to Katie. Thoughts on issue number 13?
Yeah, so I'm right in the middle on this. I felt like they did some really cool things on a technical level, so I really enjoyed the parallelism between this and issue 12, where we see the perspectives of both Mace and Mezzy reflecting on things, and then what happened to them after they separated. So I thought that was really good on a technical level. I have to wonder is if this story is meant to be a metaphor for what we have going on in our real world right now with like different environmental concerns and stuff, is like, hey, Mace and Mezzy and all their friends were so caught up in themselves and having fun and having a good time that they didn't realize what was going on around them, or the super nihilistic view, which is like, you know what, the world's burning anyway, so we may as well enjoy ourselves. So I thought that's some interesting commentary to ponder over, and I haven't quite decided what I think about that. I would love to hear from the creators if they were going for something like that at all, or they're just like, nah, we just really like Mad Max. What else that I thought was cool? I was touched by Mezzy's tenderness towards the rats, and how it almost seems like she's anthropomorphized them and then has made the humans into animals. And that makes it easier to like cope in this world where you have to kill other humans to survive. I thought that was an interesting take, and would like to, I don't know if anyone can psychoanalyze what's going on with her, but I thought that was neat. Also those like chainsaw bikes that they have, those are cool. Very good design there. And then I'm curious because they were talking about, it wasn't the mists that did this, and I want to know what did do it then. What was those mists? What's going on here? Would like some clarification on that. And I can definitely see they're ramping up towards like a big battle. So that should be interesting, and hopefully a very good conclusion of this story. Post-apocalyptic is not my favorite genre, but I think if you do like that, you'll probably get a lot more out of this story. But I will say I was surprised that I did find some things that I enjoyed in this issue, because the last couple I haven't. So this was a step up. That's what I think. What's everyone else think?
There we go. Yeah, right away with opening, I like that with what Jim had mentioned about seeing Mace going through and inventing stuff again, and seeing the trials and the errors, but then finding the very depressing result that he's trying to kill himself with these inventions, and is just not having any luck. And but yeah, just to kind of see a glimpse of that, and then have it kind of turn right away to very sad. That was quite the little roller coaster there. One moment where you see them kind of hiding out from this scene specifically here in the green, and where you see them going looking for shelter, and find out that Mace is already in there, and Mezzy is quick to just say, "Yep, I'll go find another cave," and then he goes, "Nope, there isn't one. Just come and stay in this one," basically. So seeing just that little moment there in a time of their lives where they're at each other's throats, so to kind of have that little bit of humanity left in there where they can kind of respect each other enough just to get through the night or something. But yeah, it's oh, and we had a return to our little charts. I don't think we've seen I don't think we've seen that in a while. And seeing kind of the lineup there, and just kind of seeing their weapons and just everything,
Weapons and stuff.
stuff. And but yeah, so yeah, kind of what Jim said too, with having it feel like one of the older issues in that sense. And but yeah, I really don't have anything else to add beyond what you said. Jim, you had some quotes you wanted to share.
Yeah, it goes. One of them comes from like after one of the Ravagers kills a rat, and Mezzy starts to flip out and goes into berserker mode, and Mace jumps in and helps her, and they talk about how they were fighting together well, and then their line is, "For a moment, if you squinted, it was almost like old times."
That was
At
really
least
good.
until everyone was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now that one, that was a good one. So it kind of, you see where they have the possibility, can they get that back together? And then there was another one that was earlier in the book when Mace was, let's see if I can find it again here. Come on. Was just still trying to kill himself. In the blaring light of day, dying suddenly didn't seem to be worth the trouble. So Maceo lumbered to his feet and decided with a shrug to see if living was. And that's when he walked off into the desert, and then eventually you would assume that's when he found his new home in the mountains with his other friends and became an old man.
Yeah. Many other thoughts to throw into this? Or?
I was thinking, Katie mentioned about the imagery being how this might be something affecting our own world and the environment. I think it might even be more than past the environment. I think it might be a allegory for everything that's going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
How
That's a great
our
point.
world is allegory, or this book is an allegory for our real world rather than just possibly what might be happening to the environment.
No, that's a really great point. Following from that, the theme of humans going out into the desert or a wasteland to be challenged is so common in literature. We see it going back to the Bible and even stories before that, like Gilgamesh. And I see that played out in this book as well. And the idea that, you can go out into the wasteland and it will either make or break you. You can either face your sins and be resilient and overcome, or you can succumb to them and become just as bad as what you were trying to escape. I see that a lot in this book too. And I think that's pretty interesting. I like looking at themes that are so important to humanity that they show up time and time and time again. It's just personal interest. Very cool. But yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Good. All right, well, then I think that will do it for issue number 13. We have 2 more left, as confirmed from the previews catalog, where you could pre-order the finale, and so yeah, we're almost at the end of this end of the world here, at the end of this journey. So we'll be checking in for the next 2 issues to see how it all comes together, or it doesn't. We'll find out. All right, that is going to do it then for that issue. To talk about some upcoming club talks. The April special is out. That is Ape, A-P-E, April special. And yep, Jim's got the banana scented tablet there. Yeah, so that issue is officially out. So within the next week or two, we'll hopefully be talking about that and have some fun and see what that's all about. And yeah, so that is going to do it then for the club discussion, but let's move over to the weekly reviews. Welcome to the weekly reviews. I'm going to kick it off with something that is the exact opposite of what we just talked about, and that is Looney Tunes issue number 277. Bugs and Daffy's door-to-door dentistry business is taking off, and their next appointment at a dark castle on the outskirts of town seems like just another house call. But can they fix Count Bloodcount's chipped tooth without becoming his next meal? That story is done by Derek Fridolfs, Robert Pope, Scott McRae, Jeremy Lawson, Wes Abbott, and Courtney Jordan. And then there's a second story in here done by Ivan Cohen, Walter Carzon, Horatio Ottolini, Sylvana Breeze, Gabriella Downey, and Courtney Jordan again as the editor. All right. Looney Tunes, going through the catalog, through the DC previews exactly 2 months ago. I was just like, you know what? Going through these, and we always see Looney Tunes in there. They're holding strong at the $2.99 price. Even $3.99 sounded cheap at that when I was saying it. At the $2.99 price, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I get more of these? So I just been adding Looney Tunes into my monthly orders, and it was no disappointment. This has 2, rather large stories to have one comic book together. Tooth or Scare, Bugs and Daffy are going through, and they have a house call to make at basically a Dracula type characters for a dentist appointment. And what's funny is that they go in there, and as they go in and kind of help Dracula with a chipped tooth, there's a lot of hijinks when it comes to using the toothpaste. Oh, we're out of the regular toothpaste. Well, let's use the backup one, which happens to be garlic toothpaste. And obviously, when you're using garlic toothpaste on the Dracula character, that's going to have a specific reaction. So there's a lot of fun hijinks in there, and it's Bugs and Daffy basically going through this haunted castle as because what do they call them? Blood count, which I don't know if this is a long character in the Looney Tunes lore. I don't think they name dropped them within the actual story here, but in the synopsis. But yeah, they basically have to go through the through his castle to try to find him to finish up this little doctor dentist checkup here. So that was a fun story for the first half. The second half, still dealing with an element of horror and scariness. A story called Scare B&B, and that is where Porky Pig is also approaching a scary type castle. As he approaches, he has this made a booking for a B&B, and it just so happens to be for the mad scientist and Gossamer. I was pleasantly surprised to see those characters thrown into this story, and it's Porky Pig just going through and getting thrown into this B&B, not sure what to make of it. A lot of hijinks where the scientist and Gossamer are basically trying to roast Porky Pig, and so it's kind of a fight for his life throughout the story here. Once again, a lot of hijinks. I'm sure I'm probably not going to talk about Looney Tunes every month when I get it because it's probably going to be the same thing. Being, oh, here's a couple of stories about some hijinks from the Looney Tunes, because that's basically what you would expect. But it was really fun, really family friendly. It was, you didn't have to read the other 276 issues to understand what's going on. So it's fun just to get those short stories in there. And then the extra bonus, which was cool, just reading some Looney Tunes and then jumping over and seeing an advertisement for the Teen Titans Go to the Library by Franco and Art Baltazar and Agnes Garbaska and the rest. And so it was cool to get a couple page preview there to have it tied in with some Looney Tunes stories. But all in all, it was fun. If you like some horror stories in the month of March, then hey, check out Looney Tunes number 277, because there's two very horror themed stories in there. So that's going to do it for that. I'll just say that's all, folks, for this issue. Kirby?
We do Halloween year round on this show. It's like every week we got horror. Speaking of it, I got Creepshow, Joe Hill's Wolverton Station. This is a one shot. I've only read a little bit of Joe Hill's stuff, and it's been enjoyable, but I expected this to have some extra special twists and turns and stuff with him at the helm. And we also have Jason Caramella and Michael Walsh and Pat Brasseau working on this. Starts out like the rest with the Crypt Keeper style character, and basically explaining about this old man that buys people's stuff, but kind of like a pawnbroker style, but more expensive style items. He likes to pick up such as, and his first person that he's dealing with has a mummy that he's trying to get a deal on. He's got this giant werewolf from, I'm guessing it's from some type of movie prop or something like that. Giant tarantula and stuff. I think a lot of them are movie style props that he picks up or things from museums. And he basically gives the people little or nothing. It's like, for the mummy, the headless mummy, he's offering the person $250. That's my final offer. I mean, come on, the wraps alone are worth more than that to a museum. But we get into this story where he has to go overseas to Europe to pick up another prop that he's heard about. So he heads out to the train station, Wolverton Station. I'm assuming that's the whole concept behind it, and he keeps kind of running into these werewolf style characters that just happen to be around him. And it's I'm like, is he just envisioning this, or are they actually supposed to be like playing off the werewolf type thing? Then he gets on the train and he's in the first class, but he has to go to the bathroom, and there's a wolf-like character that's kind of like asking him what he's up to, and he's stupid enough to mention that he's there to buy a movie prop and stuff. And the wolf character wants to know more about it from him. But when he walks off to go to the bathroom and leave the guy, in the normal part of the train, there's a few werewolf type characters messing with people that are just sitting on the train. And then eventually we notice body parts and things laying around. And so we know we are actually dealing with these characters being werewolf style characters, and they're attacking people on the train. We get to see the confrontation between him and the one in the first class, and him wanting to know more information about what he's buying and what's going on. And then I'm not going to give the rest of it away, but it basically leads in to some connection between people that he meets on the train and people that he's going to buy stuff from. And it's just your normal old school style horror story with the wonderful fun twists that come along with it. Only disappointment I have about this is I know Joe Hill's a big person in comics nowadays. He's been doing a lot of runs. That's great. But your name should not be the premise for this to be a $4.99 book, because every $3.99 Creepshow book we get 2 stories. This only has 1 story. And so it's like, I don't know why it had to be more expensive and stuff. I'm guessing because of Joe Hill's name on it. But it was an enjoyable story, but I feel like I heard it before. That's why I was hoping a little more to the twists and turns from this one, but it's pretty much reminds me of some from the EC Comics days that I've read, but still enjoyable. A fun little werewolf romp overseas. And yeah. So if you like Joe Hill, you'll probably like this. Check it out. And Creepshow's been a really fun 2 volumes that they got out so far.
Cool. All right, jump over to Katie. I'm very interested to hear the topic that you'll be talking about. Go ahead.
All right, I have Kid Slapshot #1 from Keenspot. This is by Troy Dungera doing the art and writing, and then I have the cover by Art Balthazar. So I picked this up because Troy and Art are friends of our show. They're part of the team over at Cartoonist by Night. You should definitely check them out. And I was just excited for a fun all ages book, and that's exactly what I got. So the premise is pretty simple. There is a infinite being named Looky Loo whose job is to observe the cosmos, and that job gets kind of monotonous after a while, so he likes to enjoy watching the goings on different worlds. And it turns out there is a world where all the old movie monsters are kind of the main inhabitants. So he's been watching over them in this city, and all of a sudden this punk kid shows up, and he's gonna fight the werewolf, the Frankenstein monster, the vampire, the zombie. And Looky Loo is like, no, I like them. I like watching them. They're my friends. And so then we see this kid kick their butt and trick them into all kinds of goofy traps. And Looky Loo intervenes and says, all right, kid. And he's like, no, my name is Slapshot. He's like, Kid Slapshot. And he's like, no, just Slapshot. And Looky Loo's like, whatever, Kid Slapshot it is. They're like, what will it take to make you go away and leave these monsters alone? And so Looky Loo gives him some super cool powers because he wants a space style snowboard, some space style blocker pads, and a spacey style hockey stick. And now he's going to become Kid Slapshot for real with his new hoverboard, metal butt kickers, and spacey style metal hockey stick and a mask that lets him breathe everywhere. So now he's a superhero. And him and his sidekick buddy, who is a skull in a jar of pickles called Dilsey, they go over to Looky Lou's place and they trash it all up. They're watching TV, they get too excited, so they break the TV, and then they raid his freezer, and Kid Slapshot gets really excited about this ice cream, and then Dilsey says, well, you've been so long without eating dairy, so you're probably lactose intolerant. And my favorite line from the book, Kid Slapshot says, lactose incoherent? Yes, I am in fact lactose incoherent. It will make you explode. So he ditches the ice cream, tosses it on the broken TV, so that makes it start on fire. They mess up the whole place. Looky Lou is very disappointed in all this. He's very, very frustrated. And then, unfortunately, his cosmic powers take over and he transforms into the mighty, powerful lunatic or lunatic. And all the cosmos will now fear his wrath. So, next issue, Kid Slapshot and lunatic, or perhaps this major extreme, because it says to be continued, and Kid Slapshot versus major extreme are going to square up and settle the debate of who's going to clean up Looky Lou's house, because it's a mess. What a lovely comic. This is an all ages comic. It's so bright and colorful. It's just it's a great cartoon. It reminds me a lot of Invader Zim and then the Fairly Odd Parents over on Nickelodeon in the early 2000s. So I appreciated that quite a bit because I watched certainly Fairly Odd Parents quite a bit. Nothing too deep here to analyze what themes did they mean here. This is meant to just have fun, and it's enjoyable. It's very easy to read. It's lighthearted. I would give this to just about anyone. I don't see anything in here. There's cartoon violence, but it's less than say the Looney Tunes where we're dropping anvils on Wile E. Coyote and blowing stuff up. So it's even milder than that. Very fun. They used a lot of purple in the background, so I quite appreciated that. I would definitely pick up some more Kid Slapshot. This was enjoyable, and I look forward to reading some more. It retails at $4.99. And KeenSpotShop.com does a deal where if you order 50, you get free shipping, and they'll send out some coupon codes. So I recommend you check this out. Kid Slapshot #1, and check out Cartoonist by Night, our sister podcast. That's my review.
Excellent, thank you, and your check will be in the mail. All right, moving on.
Thanks.
Next one here. In the habit of picking up things that I didn't pre-order and just seeing what was interesting on the rack. This is something called Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This comic, I actually forgot to write down the credits at first. Written and illustrated by Patrick Horvath. Letters by Hassan Atzmane Elho. Editor Maggie Howell. All right. Anyways, don't murder the locals. This is small town serial killer, upstanding citizen, and adorable brown bear Samantha Strong's cardinal rule. After all, there's a sea of perfectly ripe potential victims in the big city just beyond the forest. And when you've worked as hard as Sam to build a cozy life and thriving business in a community surrounded by friendly fellow animal folk, warm decor, an aroma of cedar trees, and freshly baked apple pie, the last thing you want is to disturb the peace. So you can imagine her indignation when one of Woodbrook's own meets a grisly, mysterious demise, and you wouldn't blame her for doing anything it takes to hunt down her rival before the town self-destructs and Sheriff Patterson starts literally barking up the wrong tree. Live, laugh, shed blood. And now I had two descriptors for this book after I read it, thinking, well, I'm definitely talking about this one at the club. So it's going to be like A meets B. And as I was thinking that and prepping my review, I pulled up the synopsis, which I just cold read to you here. And I find out that the two exact things that I was just going to describe this book with is part of the preview. And they say it's Dexter meets Richard Scarry's Busy Town. and that is exactly what this is. It could not have been more accurate because I'm just like, yeah, kind of Dexter feel, and I'm getting a lot of like Richard Scary, and then all of a sudden, yep, that's literally what they were going for. So here we go. This was incredible. Um, the cover is rather horrific, but when going into this title, I was kind of trying to decide what do I leave for the people who haven't read it yet. But the synopsis pretty much kind of set it up, and it is set up as a horror story, but the majority of this story isn't that. But I would think once you read that, you kind of get an idea that all right, when is the floor going to drop here? There's got to be some sort of thing that is going to ruin this happy town setup. But real gorgeous art. Just kind of going through these, basically going through the city. Samantha Bear is our main character, and she's just walking through the entire town. Everybody knows who she is. Everybody has a job. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's helping each other out. Everybody's just going out of their way to say hi. Everybody is, there's one character who is very forgetful, even to the point where he's asking people if they've seen his glasses, and the glasses are on his face. And everybody is very kind about, just reminding this person, to answer these easy questions that we would assume. All of this real big setup, going through this town, meeting all these characters, it's all too good to be true because it does not take too long until it gets very horrific. There's not too many things I want to show. I'm going to cover up one of the panels here, but before my digital screen takes it away here. But Samantha is what's great is that when my image disappears, it just cuts to art from the actual comic book as my background. Subscribe to us on YouTube to get to find out what that means. But we find Samantha Bear is basically disposing of some of these citizens. While she could be very charming and delightful, and apparently this is something that an activity that she's been doing for quite some time. If you've ever seen Dexter, or even just know the premise of Dexter, very much follows those kind of themes. And yeah, it was wild just because when you connect that with cutesy animal, and it's all very like light color, light colored. It's all very calm. I would say while there's a lot of gruesome murder, violence, and imagery going on, the art and the colors keep it very calm as you go through. And yeah, this was a pretty great read. Once again, just something random that I picked up. I just saw Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and then I just saw a little hand with some kind of miniatures there, and I'm like, oh, what is this? I didn't really study the cover after reading it. I went back to look, and it almost looked like it's somebody's making a little diorama. So I wasn't sure what to expect until we jumped in, and then we found out that we have a full on animal town. And the opening credits page too, I got to give a shout out to how cool this was here. Let me fold this over here. It's done in like a newspaper style, and there is some stuff to read, but then it does bring in the creator credits in there as well. And once again, this image might not show up as good as I wanted to, but there's like a turtle mare. I think it's coming in right there. There we go. He's got a nice little, oh, it went away. Had a nice little top hat there. Real adorable, cartoon turtle. I think he's the mayor. He looks like the mayor, but there's just a lot of adorable designs in here, and I'm starting as I'm meeting all these characters and then finding out what this story is ultimately about. I've become very afraid for all of these characters that we get to meet throughout the town. So yeah, it's real interesting. So Dexter meets Richard Scarry is 100% what this book is, and that is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Jump over, Kirby.
All right, I got Elvira meets H.P. Lovecraft, #1. The next short run by Elvira. Elvira's been through a lot in her previous 33 adventures, penned by yours truly, David Avalon. But I think you can start this one fresh. If you know who Elvira is, you're set. If you don't, what is wrong with you? David Avalone and Kuber Ball worked on this one. This is the first one I was not going to jump on because I am not a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, but I'm glad I did check it out because she makes multiple references to his racial issues and stuff like that in here, and kind of says some things about his problematic being. But we start out, we got Elvira dancing with an Elvis werewolf character here. They're just partying along, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, this giant Cthulhu-like creature shows up and starts attacking everything around. Elvira's like just sitting with Gronk, and the H.P. Lovecraft character comes up kind of like in a ghost aura type thing because he's obviously dead, and his spirits it's just like our last run with Vincent Price, where he's appearing, telling her what's going on, what she has to stop, and hope that she can stop whatever's going to come and destroy everything. Now, I have a question for you all, because Katie's into does a lot of the writing and stuff, and this is something that's been happening to me lately. It's kind of a Berenstein Bears thing to me, which I don't know. I haven't heard this until like the past month, but yet I also, and I wish I would have set it aside. I can't remember what it was. It was something that's got to be between 8 and 10 years old, and it had it written in there also. But there's this phrase that's going around. Like here would be this example. It says, in times beyond memory, the great old ones ran rampant over this world and crushed it in their tentacled grasp. They were banished from this dimension and scattered to the stars, save for Cthulhu, who was set upon an island prison outside normal space-time, which some call relay. The save thing that people are using instead of the word accept, I don't understand the concept that you're saving one letter. It doesn't make sense. I keep hearing like on news stories, 10 people dead, save one. I mean, is this a new thing that just started happening, or am I losing my mind?
No, you're not losing your mind, and it's not so much new, but I think it's been seeing a resurgence. It does mean except or aside from, so you're totally correct in that. It's been around for a while, and I honestly think people are using it again just because it's a little different. You know, it maybe sounds a little more highbrow, and you know, in stories about like Cthulhu and like mythical creatures, it definitely fits into that theme of, you know, otherworldly storytelling, just because it's just not a normal part of our speech right now. But it's not new, and you are correct in pointing out that it's mostly for stylistic reasons rather than any sort of like technical issue. But yeah, you know, that's a really good observation, and I think it's just the style they're going for. So
yeah, I feel like I'm just seeing it more and more lately.
yeah.
I got a feeling now that all next week I'm gonna see that like 4 times, like just out of nowhere. So
Yeah, the zeitgeist around language is pretty interesting.
Right,
I've
well,
noticed that on the news a lot too. All of a sudden, one phrase will pop up network to network, and it's like, do they have the same editor running around going,
They actually might.
the
They
Central
might.
Committee?
but yeah, our story beyond that keeps going. They're traveling around trying to find out as much information as they can. And here's another part where the racial stuff came up. They had to go to a special library to find some things and stuff. And the guy running it, she gave HP a bunch of a hard time for everything going on with it. But while they were there, they also come across a creature from the Black Lagoon style character that just happens to be in the library and stuff. And creatures just keep popping up, and it's gonna play out like the other storylines. We're not. The surprise so far is that they're kind of looking for the Necronomicon, and they do come across a Necronomicon in this guy's collection, but once H.P. Lovecraft tries to use one of the spells, nothing comes from it. So they find out that it's just a copy, but he thought he had the real thing. So they're going somewhere else to search for it. And in between the searches, they come across these like monk type characters that are also hunting down the Necronomicon, and they end up battling with them. They take the one that they just found, thinking they got the original now, so they don't try and stop them because it's like a chance to get them out of the way while they can go search for the next one, and so on and so on. But we get this interesting character that ends up having a bunch of body parts, kind of like he's kind of insectish, kind of human, multi-bodied. It's just a very strange, and here's a little picture of him. Very strange character. He's got all kinds of different things that are connected to him. Of course, some Cthulhu style octopus arms popping out of his back and things. But yeah, they haven't brought up the concept of the remote in this one, which all the other stories had that special remote control that she had to find to get out of the different worlds that, oh, not different worlds, different dimensions that they jumped to. It was basically going into old horror movies, and they were collecting different characters in the past stories and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like her with the whole Elvis werewolf character and stuff, where that goes. But yeah, if you like Elvira, there's another fun, interesting horror romp. And we got Gronk in here again, which I'm happy about. I always like when she goes back and has Gronk helping her out. But yeah, if you like H.P. Lovecraft, you probably like this too. So.
Yeah, I think I might have to check that one out. Coincidentally, I bought a new Elvira figure, at least new to me.
Yeah, I've got that one.
I just started unboxing, but I didn't have a scissors to get her out completely. But I see that there's interchangeable heads, and you mentioned a creature from the Black Lagoon. So I'm going to see if one of these random heads I have, and I can see if I can put that on the body there. So, all right, that is going to buy a little bit of time because Kirby, you have the next and last one. So,
oh, okay.
So yeah.
All right. This I was really happy that they came out with Volume 2. We got Sweetie Candy Vigilante, Volume 2, Issue 1. Well, this is a big description, but I'll give you a little update about what was happening in the past, hopefully. Riding in hot on the heels of a cliffhanger ending, which the first volume did. You were like, they just took over the old, what used to be the old candy shop, but it was now a bar run by like some mob people. And they were causing all kinds of problems in the neighborhood. And that's when Sweetie Candy came in and wanted to make it back to the candy shop, which I didn't understand why she was referencing it used to be in a candy shop. I suppose I finished reading this first. The eagerly anticipated return of blood, guts, and a sugar rush is here. Sweetie and her candy vigilante squad are back to kick off Volume 2 of their sweet new series with the epic, not to be missed, Sugar Town Showdown. Together with her shape-shifting, licorice-loving lycanthrope, Candy Wolf, and newly minted Ninjet Warrior Pixie Sticks, Sweetie faces off against her salty arch-nemesis Bart Bulgar and his gang of thugs in the icy, snowy streets of New York City with a violently delicious fury. Now, I'm not going to go on reading that. I'll just give you the gist of it, but we got our three characters, Sweetie Pixie and our wolf character, and then these are the two thugs that are trying to move in on their territory after taking over the bar and turning it back to candy shop. Well, we find out that her dad and mom used to run the candy shop back in the day. And this character's father also worked with them. The three of them made these specialized candies and they ran the candy shop and had all these special powers and stuff. And for some reason, they disappeared. Well, we never heard anything. At least I don't remember hearing nothing about that in volume 1. So that explains why she went to that. I mean, when you see volume 1, this is just a really crappy little bar that she's taking over to turn into a candy shop in the middle of a crappy part of the New York town. And it's in the slums like area. It's like, well, why would you want to start it there? But now it makes sense. And she thinks he had something to do with their disappearance. He thinks someone else did, and they're going back and forth over it. But if you don't know nothing about Sweetie Candy, they make specialized candies and stuff. I mean, they got like a giant gumdrop bear that hangs out. They got a living Christmas tree character, and every character you can think of from your Christmas, Easter Bunny, any type of holiday lore that had to deal with candy and kids. Those characters are popping up in these storylines. But a lot of their candies, if you're bad and you eat like a jawbreaker, your head might explode. But then a little kid eats the jawbreaker and it's just a normal piece of candy. It's just, but if you have evil in you, the candy will do different effects. Like this guy just sits there going off and off on Sweetie, and he just won't shut up. So she pulls out this piece of gum that's called Sugar Super or Sugar Soaper, and sticks it in his mouth, and every bad word that's in his mind and in his mouth kind of foams out of him, and he ends up with this pucker face in the end that he's permanently stuck with. But it's like, yeah, they got so much fun little twist with the different candies that they offer these evil characters along the way. But one thing I mentioned all these other characters popping up, and this is a happy surprise to me, because if you know me, I'm for some reason obsessed with Animorph style rabbits and ducks. Those characters. I mean, the rabbit, I know when I was a little kid, I got a hold of my grandpa's comics with like a Bucky I don't know if it was Bucky O'Hare, but it was a space rabbit type character. It might have been Bucky O'Hare, and I know that's why I was obsessed with the rabbits and stuff. And then Howard the Duck, of course, with the ducks. But yeah, we got a couple rabbits that just happen to be driving a ice cream truck called the Creamy Bunny is their ice cream truck company that they run. But yeah, so a bunch of characters from Sweetie's world happens to show up and join in on the beginning of this battle with this other faction of characters that kind of want them out of the area, but they also want to find out more about his father and her parents and what happened along the way. But yeah, it's like the battles are in here are big time bloody, all kinds of interesting weaponry that they'll use that are candy related, and just so many fun characters. I mean, here you can see up in the windows, you got the gummy bear character and the Christmas tree character sticking their head out the windows, holding on to lollipops, cheering everybody on as the battle's happening. But yeah, if you like anything like that, this is so much fun, this run. I'm so glad I got into it. And it's just a new style of characters, weaponry, and all kinds of fun along the way. And the people that are involved with this, we got Suzanne Cafaro is the writer, DC Hopkins lettering, Diago Vale is the artist, and Antonio Fabello colorist, and there are variety other producers, editors, and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with this.
All right. Cool. Well, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you, everybody, for checking out. Some quick plugs. Sunday, May 5th, Madison MightyCon. Myself and David Gloyd are going to be there selling art. Going to be selling his original comic book, some leftover collectibles, bunch of fun stuff. Go to mightyconshows.com and check us out. Madison MightyCon, Sunday, May 5th, 2024. CrimsonCowl.com for info and original webcomics. Go to Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on iTunes and hit subscribe. Then you can also hit rate, and then you can write us a review. Let's say you're listening to this podcast, but you want some of these visuals that we're talking about. Then you subscribe to the Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube. Kirby has a spin-off podcast called Under the Cowl of MS. Anything new or exciting that is coming up for Under the Cowl of MS?
Don't think I came out with anything new yet recently. I think it's mostly still reviews and unpackings and stuff like that going on. And then I did start the previews last week, but I think I mentioned that on the last episode. So yeah, we got those. Anybody interested in MS, we got a new multiple sclerosis episode out too this last week. So, and a couple more things on Instagram finally put out. Check them out at Under the Cowl of MS.
Excellent. So yes, subscribe to them over on all of the different social media platforms, including YouTube, as well as Instagram and Facebook. I have some art accounts, Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, over on Instagram and Facebook. I have Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Hey, look at that. If you're watching the video, you just saw a beaker bookmark that Kirby held up from the latest convention pickup. And Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. It's myself. It's Kid Slapshot's very own Troy Dungara that Katie talked about earlier. Matt Fife, Matt Rogers, and a frequent guest, D. Brad Gibson. And we have, I think, 20, or if not, almost 20 episodes up there of us hanging out, drawing, talking. A lot of the last couple episodes are all guests, including Scoot McMahon as one of the recent guests that we had, talking about Batman the Animated Series as well as his career. And at the time of this recording, we have another episode that we are recording tonight, and the topic is Disney villains. Yes, so we are going to be covering, drawing, and discussing Disney villains with my friend Lavi, who was from Brian Lynch's Pumpkin book that we had some pinups in. And so, yeah, she will be joining us for an episode of Cartoonist by Night. So subscribe to that channel over on YouTube to check that out. We are very close to our 1-year anniversary, so that is going to be exciting. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club show. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This whole time, I've been a walking sludge puddle.
I've been the creepy candy man.
I've been waiting for the Easter Bunny.
Me, now I'm insane too.
To be continued. I just had to turn off my virtual background so we could all see this Elvira creature.